Our next outstanding alumni is from the class of 1955, and that would be Joe Pullen.
Joe Pullen, proud alum from the Adrian High School class of '55, treasured biology teacher, nature lover, and ham radio operator, passed away unexpectedly on October 12, 2014. This treasured individual is being honored posthumously tonight. As his nominator and friend stated, "My only regret is that Joe will not be able to bound up on the stage to accept the award in person. I know he would beam from ear to ear, and his remarks would come from a self-depreciating and humble heart, but would sincerely emanate his gratitude for being so honored." Joe earned a bachelor's degree from Adrian College and a master's degree in biology from the University of Michigan. He was a faithful member of St. Rita Catholic Church. He taught biology at APS for 25 years, retiring in 1989. Beloved might describe how Joe felt about the individuals he's encountered and students he taught. He was known to push students to reach further than they thought possible. One student noted, he expected excellence in all things, had an extraordinary memory for detail, and an evident passion for all things scientific. He was also known to relish field work and exploration come rain or shine, hot or freezing. One peer expressed it this way: he was the teacher who put on old clothes and took the students out of the classroom into the streams and meadows to study and change how they observed the world. Former student Doug Van Doren expressed what many of his supporters mentioned. Joe didn't just teach biology. As an educator, he taught how to be a lifelong learner, both in academics and life. He also taught key values: respect for others, care and respect for the environment. His stepbrother Zane stated, "He designed a strategy to get the best out of you and launch you on your way in life."
Joe Pullen is our official weatherman. He's a science teacher, I believe. He eats the same thing every day for breakfast anyway. Same thing. He has a bowl of oatmeal and holy toast with margarine and coffee and orange juice every day.
Joe Pullen, still as messy as he always was. Still a great teacher, don't get me wrong.
Wasn't it the road runner because the way he walked?
Yes, because his legs.
If you have a stick that you can stick down your back and walk down, it's easy to take care of Joe.
Took great big steps. You could never keep up with him.
Several of his students pursued successful careers in various fields related to biology. One of his peers summed it up this way: teaching was his job, but encouraging the personal growth of students was his goal. Joe was also known for his humor. A couple of former students mentioned he was a master of puns. He started each new class with, "If you're pushing for me, I'm pulling for you."
I would put on the board something to the effect the first day that, "If you're pushing for biology, I'm pulling for you." And that got to be so common that one year I didn't do that, and I had kids that got highly upset. And they stated that they always heard that be the opening pun, and they wanted me to put that back in immediately.
He was always pulling for those around him. He was also known to use a coin toss to determine if the class would have a quiz that day. The Pullen jaunty gait that students loved to imitate was a reflection of the attitude he had about life, positive and cheerful. He was an avid supporter and coach of all things Maples. As a swimming and cross-country coach, he instilled a strong sense of discipline and work ethic. He was a scoreboard operator at Friday night Maple football games, served as a starter at Maple cross-country meets, and was the announcer of girls and boys swim meets at Adrian High School. He was known to bring his own special pronunciations to many events, times, and names that made swimmers and spectators alike enjoy their time in our pools. Joe was extremely inquisitive about the mysterious and interesting world that surrounded him. He had a passion for nature. He led student wilderness canoe camping trips that changed and expanded the world for many students. He taught them about the balance of nature and how humans can live and not destroy that delicate balance. For over 40 years, Joe hiked a portion of the Appalachian Trail each spring, passing on his great love of nature and outdoor adventures. Joe's interest in being a ham radio operator grew into a volunteer position as the amateur radio coordinator for Lenawee County, organizing weather spotter volunteers and serving as a liaison with the state. He was a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary, teaching classes to the boating public. He created and developed the paddle sport safety class that the auxiliary teaches today. He also worked as an agent for the Taylor Agency. Joe never married nor had children, but his constant companion was his beloved dog Gypsy. The Adrian community was his family, and he was their dedicated servant. Joe's award is being accepted by his sister Phyllis Garno and former student Tom Boldt.
As most of you know, Joe passed away last year around this time, and unfortunately he will not be here, as we know. But his sister and former student Tom Boldt will accept this award for him tonight.
Thank you. I'm limited to 3 minutes, and if Joe was here, he couldn't speak for less than 45 minutes. I knew Joe very well. I had him 2 years of biology, field biology class, 2 Quetico canoe trips, 2 years as the lab assistant in high school, and a number of casual canoeing and fishing trips. Joe was an individual with many aspects and many layers. The first reaction most people had to Mr. Pullen was his walk, which I tried to imitate there. Now, actually, the reason he walked in that fashion, when he was taking field biology classes at University of Michigan, he trained himself to take a stride that was a meter, which is 39.7 inches. And consequently, that stuck with him forever. In the video, his puns were mentioned, and of course, my first day of biology, he talked about the "I'm pulling for you." But one of the most memorable puns of his was, and he could kind of draw you in and then hit you with the punchline. He was telling me once that one of the math teachers at the high school was trying to grow plants in his room, but the plants kept dying. So he gave the plants to Joe to try to study and see what was going on. And he said, well, it's no problem. You're in a math class, the plants are growing square roots. And that's one of his stories. Another aspect of Joe's quirkiness was the fact that I went on many trips with him, many times in the car. When he'd pass someone when he was driving, he would always honk and wave. And I'd say, Joe, who is that? He says, I don't know, I don't recognize him, but in case it was a friend that I might have known, I don't want to slight him. And that was Joe. I mean, Joe had a charming, innocent quirkiness about him. Another aspect of Joe was his love and caring for the outdoors. Throughout his biology classes, throughout his trips to Quetico and numerous other activities, he introduced hundreds of young people and old people over the years to ecology, nature, and appreciation for those items. I was one of those people. I was a very interested biology student when I was in high school, but probably my first trip to Quetico was a very inspirational activity for me. Then there was his teaching, and that's his teaching. In his teaching, he was always able to encourage people to try to excel, as was mentioned in the video. He was one of the few teachers in high school that I had that I felt if I didn't perform well in his class, I was letting him down because of the expectations he had for students. To encourage people to excel in his class, he did something that you could never get away with today, I don't believe. Whenever there was a test, his class was 3 rows of lab chairs, 2 seats wide. Whenever there was a test, whoever got the highest grade on the test moved to the front seat in class. The lowest test was in the back. I don't think you could do that today without violating a student's personal esteem, but that made me want to always try to sit in the front seat. I asked Mr. Pullen on one of the trips I was with, I said, you know, you got your master's degree from University of Michigan. You obviously were very skilled and knowledgeable in all areas of biology, especially fisheries biology. And I asked him, I said, well, why didn't you go on and get a doctorate degree and go on and do research in fisheries biology, which was his love? And he made a very interesting statement to me. He said, I'm only one person. there's a limit to how much difference I can make in this world, but if I become a teacher, and if each year I can encourage one student to pursue research or a career in biology, I will have multiplied my efforts many times over the course of my career. And based upon the number of his prior students that have achieved high levels of success in various fields of biology, he achieved that goal of his. In addition to challenging his students to excel in class, on my first canoe trip, there was a young man on my canoe trip, Paul Bantle, who at the time weighed about 98 pounds. And Mr. Pullen was sure that by the end of that canoe trip, the little 98-pound Paul was going to be able to pick up a 75-pound canoe, put it on his shoulders, and carry it through a portage. And with Joe Pullen's encouragement, he did just that on about the 4th or 5th day of the trip. A lot of the people that are here today that are actually accepting awards have talked about people that had influence upon their careers. The only person that I'm aware of that Mr. Pullen ever talked about that had a huge impact on his career was Dr. Peel from Adrian College. But on the other side of that, there are literally thousands of people that Joe Pullen has had an influence on, either in terms of life values, biological studies, ethics, or in my case, a demented sense of humor. If any of you ever went on, I don't know if there's anybody here that ever went on one of Mr. Pullen's canoe trips with him, but he used to sing a song, and by the way, he's the only person on the planet that had a voice worse than mine. But the song was The Life of a Voyager, and there's a line in that song that goes, travels the lakes and streams, follows his distant dreams, peace on the waterway, blue skies or cloudy day. And Joe Pullen truly traveled the lakes and streams, and he truly followed his dreams, and he had a huge impact on thousands of people during his career. And I am pleased and honored to have the opportunity to accept what, in my opinion, is an overdue award for Joe Pullen. So thank you very much.